Well, it's really kind of convenient that Rachel mentioned my fondness for testing sex toys wherever I may be, because Carnal Nation did just send me something, and I do get like nervous reading, so I thought perhaps if I turned it on like right now, it would I'm just hoping there's no feedback, and there isn't, and I feel so much better now. And I think this is going to make for a kick-ass review.
Let's hope the battery doesn't go dead.
Yeah, really, let's hope. It's pretty goddamn nice, I have to say. Being it's a long story, I'll just preface it. Kate is our heroine who has had a lifelong fantasy, and basically that fantasy involves a balloon. And she's also been a voracious reader all her life. She's now married. She has a 4-year-old son, and she's discovered sex blogs on the internet. She has come across the blog of a dominatrix who she reads, and it's kind of about this woman's life and her world and her honesty. And she kind of gets the feeling like, wow, this is somebody I can trust. She's never been able to tell her husband or anyone close to her. She's too embarrassed about this to really talk about it. Not just because of the spanking part, because of the balloon. And so I'm going to read from here. Let's see where we are. In my head, I'd be lying down after having pressed the balloon up against my downy cheek, gliding it down my throat and over my ripe lush breasts and slightly rounded tummy. My sex would be throbbing in anticipation by the time the balloon hovered over my mons, the static creating its own magnetic field. And then my roommate would walk in. My roommate who despised me for one of those inane reasons girls find to dislike someone. Maybe I wore the wrong PJs or glanced too long at her boyfriend, but hate me she did. And seeing me spread and vulnerable and masturbating with her balloon filled her with near demonic glee. I'm sure headmistress will enjoy hearing about this, she'd say, her voice dripping with venom. Especially when I cry and tell her how horrified I was to find you like this, how I'm sure I'll never be able to get this perverted image out of my mind. And then she'd run off, leaving me to quickly attempt to dress and pace the room, wondering what punishment the headmistress would inflict upon me and when. It was always immediate and severe. Now we've reached the point where Kate has reached the dungeon and she's with Mistress Madeline. When we reached the end of the corridor, Madeline opened a door, revealing a simple, uncluttered office. An old wooden desk dominated the center, with a plush leather chair behind it and 2 smaller pale wooden chairs in front. The top of the desk was bare, save for 2 black leather paddles, one rounded like a ping-pong paddle, the other long and narrow, a rolled-up once camel leather belt antique to a deep tan finish, and a thin, mean-looking cane. Am I shifting around like weirdly? Okay. This feels really kind of good. I felt my thighs begin to tremble. I was terrified. But why then was my crotch so wet and that my panties started to stick to my swelling folds? And then I saw it, there on top of one of the tan filing cabinets, the purple balloon. My eyes had grown wide, and Madeline, as good as at her job as I had known she would be, noticed. She sank into the big chair behind the desk, opened a drawer, and put on a pair of glasses. Hazel eyes peered coolly over the frames at me. "Do you know why you're here, Kate?" she asked, launching us both right into the scene. I didn't know whether to be grateful or to tell her to wait. Could we just chat first? But her commanding presence, and how it was possible at her young age, I knew from reading her stories that she was 27, almost 10 years my junior, to have such presence, I had no idea, but ensured I would not be doing the latter. "Yes, ma'am," I replied. Was it a conscious effort to keep my words short and simple? I don't know. Ma'am? Had I just called her ma'am? It was happening. It was really happening. My throat was so dry, I don't know how I even managed those 2 small words. "Good. I see you brought the balloon as instructed," she said, averting her eyes from me for a moment and directing her gaze upon it. "Take off your coat." It was a simple command, and I obeyed it promptly, folding it over the back of one of the chairs. I remained standing. She hadn't told me to sit, so I just stood there, shifting my weight from one foot to the other, kind of like this. And looking from the desk to my shoes to the desk again, anywhere but at her face. Now tell me, Kate, tell me why you're here, and then you can tell me what you think an appropriate punishment would be for such an offense. Those words felt like a punch in my stomach. Was she going to make me repeat this when she knew from our emails and short phone call how embarrassed and uncomfortable talking about this, how thinking about this made me? But then I finally got the nerve to force my mouth open and the words to come out. I saw why. It became crystal clear that she was enjoying my discomfort. She got off on it. It was one of the reasons she did what she did, because she truly loved being in control and being the instrument of that discomfort. I was masturbating. Go on, Kate. How were you masturbating? In complete contrast to my halting admission and reddening cheeks, she kept her tone calm and matter of fact, and her face, except for the cruel glint of expectation in her eye, serene. With the balloon, ma'am, I was rubbing it my thighs when Julia walked in. She said she was going to tell you that I would be sorry. She was right. You'll be very sorry for being such a dirty, slutty little girl, Kate. But first, remove your panties and hand them to me, please. I must have swallowed wrong and gotten saliva caught in my windpipe because I started coughing and turning even redder. Madeline just sat there not saying a word, waiting for my fit to subside. She didn't repeat herself. She didn't need to. She knew I was going to do what she asked of me. Reaching under my tartan skirt, the only thing in my wardrobe that vaguely resembled a schoolgirl outfit, I pulled my red panties down and stepped out of them and took a step forward to hand them to her. I stepped back, watching her examine them and then hold them to her nose and sniff.